Hello everyone and welcome back once again to my channel and to another full flight video in the PMDG DC-6. So far, after having done quite a few flights with this aircraft, I'm really impressed with it and I really enjoy flying it as well. It does still have some minor issues here and there, but overall I would say it's a well developed product that you should definitely add to your virtual fleet when you get the chance. As you could see on the thumbnail of this video and in the title, we will be taking this aircraft to one of the most remote places on the planet, which is Antarctica. Most of you will probably know that there's an airbase called McMurdo Air Station. I believe DJ Aviator actually has a very interesting flight sim video about that airport, so definitely go check that out after this video. But we will not be going to McMurdo Air Station today. Instead, we are flying to the other side of the continent, to Marambio Airport, which is an airstrip located next to a research station in the Argentinian part of Antarctica. The airfield doesn't have a very long runway because it was made mainly for aircraft like the C-130. Besides that, chances are the weather will also not be on our side in this part of the world, and there's no ILS system in place at the airport, so we'll have to monitor our descent closely at all times. So with that said, it will definitely be a challenge to get this aircraft on the ground in one piece. I really hope it will not end in another crash like in the last video. Oh, you know what we forgot? Oh, no. This is not good at all. Because I do have a bit of a reputation to uphold, of course, and I feel like I need to prove myself and that I can fly this aircraft the proper way. So this should be definitely an exciting flight. Before we get right into it, be sure to do a touch and go on that big red subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And also don't forget to like the video if you enjoy it. And let me know down below in the comment section what you would like to see next on the channel, or you can tell me how I can improve my content as well. I also want to thank all of the people who are already subscribed to the channel. We've already exceeded 300 subs in such a short time, so thanks for all of your support. Now without further delay, let's jump into the flight deck. So just one more thing before we actually jump into the flight deck, like I just said. The airbase, or airport rather, from which we are departing today is Stanley Airport, which is located in the Falkland Islands. Some of you may already know this island group from the oversimplified video that covered the war that took place here some time ago. So yeah, the reason why I haven't chosen the military airbase, which is located just a couple of miles west of this airfield, is because this airport has free scenery for it that you can find on flightsim.to. So if you want to explore these two islands or more islands, you can always download the scenery for free on the flightsim.to website. Obviously, all of the add-ons and plugins that I use, I will put links to them in the description below, so you can always find the link to this airport and to the scenery for the other airport in the description below, so definitely go check that out. And yeah, I've chosen the US Air Force livery for this flight. I wasn't really sure what livery the aircraft at Antarctica would actually use, and I also wasn't sure which country would actually fly to that airbase, so I just made up a story that I don't know, the US Air Force is picking up some researchers from America, and they are working together with the Argentinian government or something like that, and that's why the US Air Force is taking them to the Marambio airbase. So that's just the story that I made up for it, just so the livery and aircraft choice makes a little bit more sense, but you can obviously just imagine something else if you like. But yeah, this is what we are going with today, the US Air Force DC-6 livery, which you can also download for free on the flightsim.to website. Also, a link will be in the description below. And as you can see on the side there, military air transport service. Would be the ideal aircraft to transport goods in and out of a research base, and also people, of course. So yeah, with all of that said, now we can go into the flight deck. Here we are again. Like I said in a previous video, I think it's a very nicely done cockpit and a very beautiful one, with all of the gauge and such, and all of the buttons and switches. So before we start messing with some switches, we'll first check that all of the circuit breakers are in the up position. All of these switches except those four, of course, because you can't manipulate them and they are supposed to be in the down position. But other than that, all of the circuit breakers seems to be in the right position. So first of all, we'll go ahead and fill the aircraft up with fuel and our payload. So the cargo that we are taking today. No idea what we would be taking to Antarctica, but you can obviously imagine something for your own. So there we go, we are taking 16,658 pounds, so close enough. And our takeoff weight should be 87.2 approximately. So we'll fill the cargo hold up with cargo here. And we'll also put some cargo in the lower deck as well. Oh, we went a little bit too far there. There we go. So the aircraft is quite heavy today for this flight, and as you can probably see, the runway here at Stanley Airport is not really made for an aircraft of this size, and definitely not this weight. So what we'll do is we'll use the water injection system for this departure, but even then it will probably be quite a interesting takeoff, and I don't know if we'll get in the air before the end of the runway, but that we'll see, of course. So now that we filled up the aircraft, we can go to upstairs here to the overhead panel, turn on the battery and switch to ground power. Turn on all of the inverters as well as the generators. No smoking sign and seatbelt sign can go on. And that's everything we need to do there. So a little bit lower here, we'll open up all of the cowl flaps. And we'll also turn on all of our navigation equipment right here. The most important one being our GPS, of course, and also the navigation radios. Then down here we'll turn on the DME indicator, and also the fuel tank selectors can go to the main tanks. We have just 100 pounds in the alternate tanks, but we won't be using that for this flight. We'll only be using the main tanks today. And everything else here is set where it needs to be, so that's good. Now we'll go right ahead to the GPS. And the aircraft from which we are departing is Sierra Foxtrot Alpha Lima, SFAL. There we go, Stanley, that's the right airport. And our flight plan consists of only one waypoint, which is Udebi. Wrong way, I suppose. There we go. There we go, that's our waypoint, and then we go straight to our destination airport, which is Sierra Alpha Whiskey Bravo. Which is Marambio Air Base, or base rather. So then we are going to go to procedures. We won't bother with a departure at Stanley Airport because it simply doesn't have one. So we'll go straight to select approach. And apparently there is no data for this airport, so should have known because I've already done this flight one time before, and yeah, I remember that the airport indeed doesn't have any data, so we'll just, well, because it's a VOR approach, we can easily do that without the help from the GPS, so not a problem at all. We'll just go to the actual flight plan page here, and let's see here. So that's all of the flight planning that we need to do. So this seems like a good time to let the flight engineer do his thing.
Cockpit preflight. Completed. Voice recorder. Tasted. Oil cooler.
Also, while he is doing his thing, we can start planning our departure a bit more. So let's have a look at the weather first. So the wind does favor runway 27, which means we'll be departing in that direction. So from that runway and then in that direction there. And after departure, we'll make a left turn towards our flight plan and we'll join the flight plan towards Utepi, and from there we'll just fly to the airport. So the flight time is, let me see, according to Debrief, 3 hours and 12 minutes, so quite a long flight. So yeah, and we also need to take a look at our V speeds here. So we'll do that right now. It is probably somewhere around, so V1 of 92 knots, and then we have a V2 of 107 knots, so that will be our rotate speed. So somewhere around here then. Oh yeah, and also our altimeter is 2912 today, quite a low pressure setting. So this should give us approximately the airport elevation. We'll check if that's correct in just a bit here. And we'll do the same for the co-pilot altimeter here. Like so. So the altimeter is now indicating approximately 100 feet. We'll see if that's correct. Which it is approximately. The runway elevation, or airport elevation I should say, is 74 feet, so close enough I would say. Let's press B here. Okay, so the altimeter is more like 2909, so the weather report on the internet is not completely synchronized with the weather in the sim. That's something that can happen in a flight sim. So also something important that we still need to set is the pressurization. Our cruising altitude is only 11,000 feet today, so not very high. That's probably because we are quite heavy with both fuel and cargo. Only 11,000 feet, so that will give us a cabin altitude of somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 feet, which is quite low, I would think. And there we go. We've set up everything we need to do. The cabin heater master is on, and the flight engineer has been so kind to already put the flight fuel pump for engine number 3 in the low position, and also the engine starter and all of that. So yeah, we are ready to start our engines now. No need to wait for anything or anything like that. Go down here first. Put all of the mixtures in the auto rich position. Turn on the magneto for engine number 3. And also, oh yeah, we probably need to close the doors first before we do all of that. That's normally the job of the flight engineer, but for some reason he just ignores the fact that the doors are still open, so we'll do that for him now. He did remove the mechanical stands, however. There we go, the stairs are closed, and now we can close the cockpit door as well, and we just need to wait for these cargo doors to close as well. There we go, doors are all closed and locked. We can double check that by looking at the door warning light, which should turn off in any second now. Or maybe will just stay on, I have no idea, but anyway, we'll go right ahead and start our engines now. Yeah, I'm gonna open the window for you guys so you can really hear the sound of these beautiful engines. And that's probably also something the flight engineer would actually do in real life, so he can count the amount of blades. So yeah, here we go, guys.
3, 6, 9, 12.
And there we go, good start on engine number 3. We'll wait for the starter switches to cut out for us. Like so. Turn on the engine number 4 boost pump and also the magnetos. And now we can turn off the engine number 3 boost pump and turn the selector to engine number 4 and do the exact same process.
3, 6, 9, 12.
There we go. Another good engine start. You can see it right there. Up next is engine number 2, so we'll do exactly the same as always for that engine.
3, 6, 9, 12.
And then lastly, engine number 1. There we go, 4 good engines. All of them are still below 1000 RPM, which is where you want to keep them at idle. Oil pressure and oil temperature are looking good as far as I can see. You shouldn't mind the orange light, that's normal at idle thrust. And all the other instruments are looking good as well. Still don't know why these door lights won't go out. As far as I can see, all of the doors are closed and locked, so I don't know what the problem is, but yeah. So now that the engine start is complete, we can set the selector to off, turn the boost pumps off as well, and switch to plain battery. And we'll let the flight engineer do the rest.
Start selected boost pumps. Off and off. Battery switch. Plain battery. Generators and inverters. Checked and on. Emergency lights. Armed. Ground power. Removed. After start checks complete.
Okay, after start checklist complete, I'm just quickly going to check if the circuit breakers are still in the right position, which might cause the warning lights that we were having, but so as far as I can see, everything is still where it's at, so I really don't know what's up with these lights at the moment, so yeah. Let's just hope that doesn't cause any problems for the pressurization, which it actually shouldn't, but we'll see. For now we can disengage the parking brake and first of all idle the engines fully, and then we can switch to reverse mode and we can slowly start reversing the aircraft. Like so, to get a bit of distance between us and that stone fence there. We have enough room to turn. Okay, there we go. That should be enough room, I guess. So we'll already let the flight engineer do the before takeoff checklist while we turn this aircraft around.
Boost pumps on low. Fuel selector and crossfeed. Main tanks and crossfeed off. Autopilot and carb heat. Off and cold. Hydraulic system. Down, forward, pressure and quantity checked. Okay. Flaps 20.
There we go. I'll turn around.
Flaps set.
So we'll make a right onto this runway and backtrack for a little bit. No traffic to the left of us and
Closed and on.
no traffic to the right as far as I can see.
Gas block released. Free. Potato. On. Mixture and cowl flaps. Region locked. Set. Transponder. On. Landing lights. Extended and on. Before takeoff checks complete.
Okay, so we still need to do a quick flight control check here. Flight controls are free and correct. As you can see, quite a thin runway, so keeping the aircraft on the runway, sorry, will be quite difficult, I think. But we'll try our best, I guess. And we'll go all the way to the end of the runway, so we have as much of runway as we can. Oh, you know what? Now I know why the lights wouldn't extinguish, because the window was still open. And just like in the previous video, the flight engineer was so kind to close the window for us, because otherwise I would have probably forgotten, but yeah. So now the pressurization should be all in order. And yeah, we'll focus on turning the aircraft around for a second. So yeah, we went off the runway there for a bit, but it's all fine. And there we go. We'll stop here for a second. Flaps are set 20 and indicating, just making sure that the flight engineer did its job properly. Auto feather is armed and all of that. So we'll go ahead and request a wet takeoff from the flight engineer. And you can see there when you turn on the water pumps, the water pressure increases, which is what we want to see. And then once the throttle gets high enough, you will see these 4 lights illuminate, which means the water pumps are injecting water into the engines. Here we go, keeping the brakes until the flight engineer has set full power.
Stabilized. Cal flaps. Cal flaps. Cal flaps set. Full power, please. Going full power.
There we have those 4 green lights. Full power is set.
Full power set.
Airspeed's alive. Let's hope we make it before the end of the runway, guys. There's V1. And rotate. And there we go, we are off. Gear is coming up. We'll keep a gradual climb rate here to allow for good acceleration.
Gear up, lights out, flaps up, flaps going up.
And we'll trim the aircraft out a bit since the flight engineer is retracting the flaps are. And we'll also start making that left turn towards our flight plan now.
Meteor power. Setting meter power, 48 inches, 2600 RPM.
There's 165 knots.
Meter power set. Climb power. Setting climb power.
And we'll level out here. And decrease the pitch of the nose a little bit since the airspeed is getting a bit lower. And there we go, this seems like a good time to engage the autopilot, or gyro pilot I should say.
After takeoff checks complete.
Yeah, we are climbing away safely. Flight engineer has set all of the thrust for us, so we do not need to take care of that. And we can now engage nav mode as well, and our aircraft should follow the flight plan that we've programmed in, which it is doing right now. There we go. Might have overshot our flight plan just a little bit, but it's okay. So guys, welcome back to the flight deck. Really hope you enjoyed that departure out of Stanley Airport. Right now we are cruising between the two cloud layers, as you can see. Hopefully it will stay that way, so we don't need to use any anti-ice systems this flight. Yeah, the aircraft is accelerating, so in a few seconds I'll let the flight engineer do his cruise checks. But for now I'll probably cut the video right here so you can admire some of the views while we cruise. And then I'll see you guys back at the top of descent when we start doing the descent planning and all of the fun stuff like the approach briefing and all of that. So see you then. For now, enjoy the views. So guys, welcome back once again to the Flytek. As you could see during the cruise there, we came across some rather rough weather. There were a lot of clouds there and we had to kind of go right through them, and I was kind of worried that we would encounter some severe turbulence as well, but luckily it was only just a very thick cloud layer. And there wasn't any precipitation or severe turbulence or anything like that, so we passed through it without any problems. So the flight engineer took care of all the carburetor heat, and I turned on the anti-ice, which actually we can turn back off right now. But as you can see, I pressed the button there, and for some reason it doesn't do anything. Now, why is that, you might ask? Well, this aircraft is kind of broken for some reason, and I have no idea why. The last time I did this flight, because I practiced this approach and all of that before, during this flight I also encountered this exact same problem, where suddenly you can see these weird spots on the cockpit, and if you watch closely, the propellers aren't moving anymore. And as you'll see in a few moments, all of the displays are completely frozen, all of the indicators, and if I try to move this tablet here, just nothing happens. I can still press all of the buttons and they will still do their normal functions, but for some reason nothing is actually moving in the cockpit, so it's a rather annoying bug that I've encountered in multiple aircraft, not just this one. I don't think this is a PMDG specific problem, because I've encountered this in the CRJ and the TBM and probably also the King Air, but I'm not sure about that. But yeah, it's quite an annoying bug, and for some reason this specific problem in the PMDG DC-6 only happened so far during this exact flight and at this exact location, because we just passed in this island here, and in the previous flight that I did at this region, the problem also occurred at that exact part. So I don't know what's up with that, but it's really annoying. But luckily the display should come back alive somewhere during the descent, but until then we'll have to use this as our vertical speed indicator to monitor our descent rate, because this won't give us anything. Just everything is completely frozen in place, and I can show you. Here I'm adjusting the course knob, but the card itself isn't moving at all, so I don't know what's up with all of this, but hopefully one of you in the comment sections can give me some advice on this maybe. And hopefully this issue will be resolved by either the developers at Microsoft Flight Simulator or PMDG, because this is quite an annoying bug, if I'm being honest, and a bit of a deal breaker as well, because this really affects the way you have to fly this aircraft. But yeah, as I said, it should normally get normal again once we are descending towards the airport. At least that's what happened last time, and since it seems to be following the same pattern, I do hope it will be resolved during the descent. Now, as for the arrival airport, I'm gonna brief sorry, can't speak today. I'm gonna brief the approach to you. So this is the approach that we are going to fly, the VOR Zulu for runway 23. I believe the wind actually favors the opposite runway, but there's no approach for that one, so yeah. The wind is coming from 240 degrees, so that's gonna be a tailwind. So yeah, that's going to be a bit tricky as well. That's not going to work in our favor, but we'll just have to make it work anyway. So we are going to fly towards the Marambio VOR, then we are going to intercept the 077 radial to a distance of 8 nautical miles, then we are going to turn back and intercept the 237 radial towards the VOR. And this right here is the tricky part, because as you can see, the glide slope is slightly steeper than a normal 3-degree glide slope, so it's kind of comparable with the London city approach, because that's, I believe, somewhere around 4 degrees, so it's quite close to that. So we'll have to make sure that we are actually descending quite fast during this final approach phase, because the last time I did this approach I underestimated the descent rate, and the approach didn't really end well because I ran off the runway because I was too fast during the approach, because I was too high and all of that. So we'll definitely have to make sure that our flaps are probably fully configured by this point so we can descend quite rapidly, and then hopefully we'll make it in time. And our minimum altitude here is 1070 feet. So yeah, transition altitude 4000 feet will probably set the altimeter a bit before that. And I've already done the descent calculations, and I've calculated that we need to descend 50 nautical miles from the Marambio VOR. That allows us to get to 3400 feet in time, and also gives us 20 nautical miles to allow the aircraft to slow down to its approach speed, which is something you definitely need in this aircraft, as you probably saw from the last video in the St. Martin approach. So yeah, that's everything to know for the approach. And if we take a look at the GPS here, we are still 21.3 nautical miles away from the Udepi waypoint, and there's approximately 60 nautical miles between Udepi and the VOR, so which means we're actually still 30 nautical miles from our top of descent. And it seems we're gonna have to fly through some clouds again. Also, something you always get in this part of the world is that the sun is never really high up in the air, and yeah, that just has to do with the location of Antarctica here. And even though it's just after noon, the sun is already getting quite low, so that does make for some very nice views on the approach. But that obviously doesn't make the approach any easier, of course. But yeah. So hopefully this little problem that we have right now will resolve itself soon enough. Luckily, we can still program in the all of the frequencies that we need. So I'm gonna scratch that. We cannot change the frequency on the GPS itself, but we can, however, change the frequency of the actual navigation radio itself, so that's at least something. And if we change to DME2 here, we are still 72.9 nautical miles away from the VOR, so we can also use that as a reference for our descent. Yeah, we can set the backup in the GPS for that same frequency, so fuel is still doing good, although we can't keep track of it anymore since the gauges won't move at all. Luckily, the flight engineer should still work during the descent, so that's very important. Otherwise, I can't really do anything with the throttles. I could probably do it with this, but this is not a very accurate representation. So yeah, this is gonna be a bit challenging, but hopefully we'll manage to get to the airport safely. Passing through the clouds, as you can see, the temperature is rather cold, so I'm gonna turn the anti-ice back on, and I'm just gonna hope the window anti-ice is still on. Can't really see it. It says it's in the on position, but I'm pretty sure I'm not really sure I turned it off or not, so we'll just see if any ice builds up on the windshield, and then I'll try to turn the knob in the right position. Just look how ugly this livery is with those black spots. It's a really weird bug. In the other aircraft it's not this extreme. You can still, the gauges still give the right information in the other aircraft, but in this aircraft you just get a complete avionics freeze for some reason, and I really don't know why, but it seems to have something to do with this part of the world. And in the other aircraft it's just completely at random, so I don't know what to think about this. Still 5.8 nautical miles away from Udepi, so 15 nautical miles away from our top of drop. And we'll probably have to use these two things here, the VOR indicator and the vertical speed indicator outside in the aircraft to be able to navigate, which is not ideal of course, but you just have to adapt to the problem, right? So what I'll do is I'll already set the 077 radial, like so. So we can use this here as a reference. Actually, once the aircraft starts turning, you won't be able to even notice it since the displays are completely frozen. You'll also only be able to see it from this perspective, I think. So there we go, the aircraft is now turning, but from here it's not even noticeable. You would think that the aircraft is just flying level at this point. And the only thing that gives it away is the camera that's tilting a bit when you turn, but other than that, everyone would probably believe you're still flying in a straight line, which we are actually not. 9 nautical miles to go until our descent. Hopefully the weather is not too extreme at the airport, since that will make it virtually impossible to land there. And we might have to alter the weather altogether, so as to make this approach possible. But hopefully we'll manage to get the aircraft on the ground with the live weather, since that's better for the immersion, of course. And it's also a bit more challenging, which makes it all the more fun. So let's monitor this GPS now. So it obviously can't hurt to start our descent a little bit earlier than usual, so I'll turn off the altitude holds or altitude control switch. As you can see, it's off, and I'll start increasing the descent rate, and I'm gonna come outside here to see that we are descending at 1000 feet per minute. We'll keep increasing the descent rate until we are at 1000. Right about there should be good, I think. Seems to be stable enough, so there we go. And as you can see on the displays, absolutely nothing. Speed, as far as I can see, is also completely frozen in place. Altitude as well, and the engine displays, just everything in the cockpit is just frozen. Except the DME indicator and the GPS, thankfully. Otherwise we would be completely screwed, I think. But yeah. We'll just monitor the descent from outside of the aircraft here. Really nice to see the beacon lights. You can see the light reflecting from all of the water particles in the air, which is a super nice detail. It's quite dark out here in the clouds. Yeah, let's go ahead and tell the flight engineer to do the descent checklist. So that still works, but you can't change the page. So actually, it just occurred to me, if I was in the fuel load manager, I just wouldn't be able to change the artificial flight engineer. So luckily we already were at this page, because otherwise this would be even more difficult. Don't know if the flight engineer is still doing his thing. I hope it is. Don't know if he reduced the thrust or not, but let's assume he did. Yeah, I've absolutely no idea, guys. This is going to be even trickier than I thought. So getting a little bit low on the descent rate, so let's increase it again. There we go. So we've now descended 4,000 feet, which means we should have covered approximately 20 nautical miles, which we have. So I think that's... Did I just screw it? Oh no, I mean we should have covered 3,000. We have crossed 3,000 feet, so we should have flown about 15 nautical miles, that is, which is approximately correct. I think we're a bit too low for our descent profile, but that's quite alright. These descent calculations can be quite hard sometimes, but at least for me, because they are pretty straightforward for professionals, but yeah. Okay, so we are almost at 3,400 feet, so we're gonna start leveling off here. Pretty sure we're gonna have to adjust the weather a bit because this seems... Oh! Well, there you go. The problem has finally fixed itself. As you can see, the vertical speed indicator is alive again. And that's actually something that I haven't noticed before, but you can actually see the flames right there. That's super nice. Very nice detail. Anyway, we do need to focus on leveling off here. I'm actually going to increase the light here in the cockpit a little bit, just so we can see a bit more. That's better. Yeah, the flight engineer should set 26 inches now, so we can actually decelerate, but I genuinely have no idea what he's actually doing, so I'm just gonna take over, I guess. Which for some reason I can't do right now. Okay, this is... This is a rather big problem. And I can't really do much about it, I'm afraid.
Hydraulic bypass valve. Down. No smoking signs. On. In-range checks complete.
The engines just aren't reacting at all. Really weird what's going on right now. Totally didn't have this problem the last time I flew this aircraft, so
Flaps 20. Setting flaps 20.
just really don't have any control over the throttles for some reason.
20 flaps set.
Yeah, we're getting very low on the speed now. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is actually make the weather a bit clearer so we can see something here. And I'm going to take over from the flight engineer. no idea what's happening right now. Throttles are still decreasing, but I really don't know why. All I know is that the aircraft is really messed up at the moment. It seems almost like the engines are just off completely. Yeah, guys, we're not gonna make it at all, I think. The aircraft is just not doing anything right. Maybe have I tried the descent checklist again?
26 inches, please. Setting 26 inches.
No. Okay, guys, this is really frustrating.
Cross-checked. Seatbelt signs on. On. Engine blowers low. Low. Descent checks are complete.
Really don't know what else I can do at this point. And there we go. So this is our second crash on the channel. I'm not really doing my reputation any favors, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with this problem. The last time it didn't cause problems like this. That bug that we have had with the black spots on the aircraft, that's something we encountered the last time as well in this area, but when the black spots disappeared, the problem was fixed normally, but this time the engines just didn't respond to anything I did. As you couldn't see it, but I was constantly moving my physical throttles back and forth. I was commanding the flight engineer to set different thrust levels, but not a single response. Even though all of the displays were working and the speeding indicator was working, but the throttles definitely didn't get the message, and now we are literally in the water, just 10 miles from the VOR at the airport, so that's quite unlucky. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with this video now. I was going to upload this video in the hopes that it would be a better video than last time with an actual DC-6 landing. And it turned out to be just another crash in this aircraft, so yeah. Although this time I don't feel like it's my fault, it's completely the aircraft's fault. This time I was doing everything right, according to procedures. I was descending at the right rate. I was using the flight engineer what I should. Except last time, then it was getting a bit desperate, but yeah, the engines just weren't doing anything, so I had no choice but to try different things out with the flight engineer. So yeah, guys, I don't know. I'm definitely going to revisit this airport, but then I'm going to do a different approach. I think I'm going to take off from a different airport at Antarctica itself, and then we are going to approach the airport from the south. Maybe then we won't encounter that same bug. At least I hope so, and if we do, then I'm going to be really sad because you should have seen the airport scenery. It's a really nice scenery actually, and completely freeware, but I'm going to keep that for the next video then, which will probably be somewhere this week because I can't really wait to show you guys this airport. And I might actually do a video on this bug just to show you guys what actually happened and explain in a little bit more detail what's made these flights go so terribly wrong. But yeah, oh, I'm kind of frustrated right now, I'm not gonna lie. I spent almost 3 hours flying from the Falkland Islands to this uh, part of the world only to end up in the water. So yeah, not my best day of flight sim. So this is how close we actually came, if you want to see. This is the airport. At this point I wasn't paying attention to anything of the approach chart. I was just trying to get the speed up so we wouldn't stall and wouldn't end up in the sea, which we ended up doing anyway. But yeah, this is what we should have done, and this is what I'm going to show you in the next video. We are going to take off probably somewhere here because there's an airport here, or even McMurdo Air Station maybe. I don't know. We'll see about that. There's something about this area here which the sim just doesn't like at all. And I don't know what it is, and I hope somebody in the comment section does know what it is and can maybe tell me or show me how to resolve this issue without having this whole situation. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you dislike the video, honestly, can't really blame you because this is not what I intended this video to be at all. And yeah, but if you did enjoy it, you can obviously like the video and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the video that will show this airport in all its glory and which will allow me to land this aircraft there properly without any bugs, because I'm really looking forward to that. So I hope you are too. And for now, I'll just see you in the next one, and you can have a good laugh at me once again, because I tend to crash a lot in this aircraft, more than I've ever crashed in any aircraft, to be honest. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.